Just 2 minutes left, 2 minutes to go.
This Triple Crown might have only been 3 rounds, but the racing and battling that have occurred are certainly not small in the slightest. Paul Crone asserted dominance on the field with an incredible Turn 1 dive bomb in Long Beach that sent him from 8th to 2nd in the matter of a corner. He went on to win and take the points lead. Last week in Detroit, Broderick Johnson stamped his authority on the field, holding off Jeff Mathis, Paul Crone, and JJ Wang, as all 3 faltered in various forms. That brings us to tonight, to the streets of Chicago. This circuit was born as an experiment between iRacing and NASCAR, as during the COVID lockdowns, NASCAR tried the Pro Invitational Series here, springboarded this layout to be released to the public. This actual layout is going to be the layout for the NASCAR Cup race next July. Featuring Lakeshore Drive and Michigan Avenue, this track winds its way around Buckingham Fountain and Grant Park. Certainly wonderful scenery for some motor racing. We will be watching with excitement as we welcome you to the EMSA Service Experts eTriple Crown Challenge. Bryan, Sawyer in the production truck and Cody Erdmann next to me in the commentary box. I am Josh Mertz, live from the streets of Chicago on the Automotive Sports Network for a slight fourth wall break. I'm an hour from the city, so let's call it that as it is. Our coverage and series are both brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. And for more information, visit serviceexperts.com. Cody, we have an incredible title battle brewing. I'll get to that in a minute. But especially after last week, what are your thoughts about tonight?
Looking forward to tonight. This is, I would say, a deceivingly tricky racetrack with a lot of just 90-degree corners. But some of them are very, like, one lane. There's not much room to go too wide through, especially, like, coming up and around the Grant Fountain section. So I would say that we'll have to watch on making sure no one really, especially our 3 title protagonists, make sure they make no mistakes here in these 2 races tonight. So we keep an eye on that. One thing in practice, I did notice that 2 of the 3 drivers, JJ Wang and Paul Crone, they were way down the order compared to normal. I don't know if they're didn't make qualifying runs or what it was, but they seemed a lot slower than Jeff Mathis, who was sitting on top of the board in practice. So we'll keep an eye on that.
As coming into today's race, like always here in EMSA, whether it was eRoval or here at the Triple Crown, our format for this evening will be this 15-minute qualifying session. And then we'll have a 20-minute feature. We'll have a 5-minute warm-up, which allows us to have a chat with our Feature 1 race winner. And we'll have a 20-minute second feature. And you get the top 10 inverted, but I think that is our entire field, so we should have that. And I did not see that graphic until right now, so thank you, Bryan Sawyer, for putting that together. Let's talk about JJ Wang, Cody. We talk so often about him being able to score pole position, win the first feature, and then have terrible luck in the second. But last week it was a little reversed. He crashed on the start of the first feature, and then, if I recall correctly, he did win that second feature.
Yeah, he was able to, the second feature was where we also had some pretty chaotic things going on about the halfway through the first lap, and he was able to check out from the field and just not have to worry about anything out the rearview mirror, just focus out the front. Was able to pick up the win. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see. Hopefully tonight will be the night he can put it all together, pick up his first title.
As we will roll through our points, like I talked about at the top, we have a pretty wicked points battle coming into today's race. So Paul Crone, who is the defending eRoval Series champion, has a 2-point lead over Jeff Mathis and a 3-point lead over JJ Wang. Broderick Johnson is here. He was not here for the first round, and he decimated everyone in that second round. So expect the 82 to play a spoiler in this, but we'll keep an eye on Crone, Mathis, and Wang throughout the evening. And EMSA did post their 2023 calendar. They had a little conference call that I was on, along with Brian Sawyer, about an hour and a half ago. Super awesome to mention that there's going to be over 30 races in the year of 2023 for EMSA, and hopefully the Automotive Sports Network along for the ride. We do know that the eWorld Tour will have 15 races, I do believe. That first round is in Montreal, January 22nd. We got a Discord link for them down below on that as well. And of course, how can we forget the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge returns as well. I've lost count how many seasons we've been. I think it's the 27th season now, maybe 28. Blows my mind. We return for the first round in Brands Hatch on February 27th. Discord link. NASADiscord.tk was fixed by me earlier, so that should work. As through qualifying, just as we suspected, Cody, JJ Wang at the top of the board at a 120.652. He's a second faster than Broderick Johnson.
Yeah, he picked up 3 seconds in qualifying, so I wonder if he wasn't running the race power or the qualifying power mode in practice. So yeah, he's a second and 0.2 over Broderick, who, like you said, missed the first round, but was probably the most dominant car we've seen in a long time in round 2. So we'll see if he does play spoilers. Paul Crone is yet to set a lap along with Jeff Mathis, our other top two in points.
As such a tricky track to get right. As when NASA ran here for the sports car challenge, I ran a couple laps just to figure it out because I was going to run that race. And I discovered that this track is harder than the layout looks as we look at JJ Wang. The south end of the track across Lakeshore Drive and back up going north. I was stuck in traffic here once trying to find parking at Soldier Field. And that wasn't fun because there's people everywhere, as there always is in Chicago. Over the bridge, which houses the railroad lines, and onto Michigan Avenue. Have this little inner loop kind of chicane, which is interesting as JJ clobbers the wall. Just a really unique layout, despite the fact that it's, like you mentioned, kind of all 90-degree corners.
Yeah, and just as you saw JJ there, that's kind of my main worry tonight is it's so easy just to make that tiny bit of you turn in just not even half a tenth too early, and you'll just clip the wall, sending you into a tire barrier. That whole section, as we're watching Paul Crone coming up to the same section that JJ was in previously. This section here is very much a one lane, and it's a very tight one lane. It's almost feeling like you're racing through an alley. So we'll have to keep a watch on if anyone's too wide, if they're going to be daring enough to come through it and stay too wide.
Michigan Avenue connects to, I believe it connects up to Monroe, but we'll see here just a minute. It's actually Jackson Drive, and I could be horribly wrong and off base here. But I do know that this middle street is Columbus, and we do end up on Lakeshore Drive. And it's going to be fascinating to watch these guys really compete on here. Obviously, it's a street track. There's no room, but it seems tighter than Detroit. For sure, tighter than Detroit. Detroit seemed like they had a little bit of runoff and a little bit of grass to save you if something went wrong, but this is tighter than Long Beach for sure.
The first half seems fairly comparable to Detroit, but that second half of the circuit it's almost like that alley portion of Baku is what it feels like, and it's like a good 30 seconds of it, not just a real short glimpse. If you look at the timing and scoring board, we have our top 3 point contenders, all within, what, a tenth? 2/10?
As Paul Krohn has gone fastest at a 1 minute 20.457. Jeff Mathis at a 1:25.64. JJ Wang 20.652. As you wonder, why haven't you paid attention to the results, and you're yapping your jaw and you're making a lot of all this other stuff? Because realistically, we will see one final run from these guys in qualifying to really see who will go to pole position. And I'm expecting pace out of all three of these guys, especially Paul Krohn trying to make it 2 championships in a row. Jeff Mathis, the newest guy out of these 3, and he's super fast, Cody. Talked about winning on debut in Charlotte in the E-Roval Series and how well he had it in Long Beach and in Detroit.
Yeah, he pretty much just jumped onto the scene and was just super fast right out of the box. We've seen a couple of people, like I would say JJ, where it took him a couple of rounds to kind of really get a grasp on how this car drives and everything. But Jeff just jumped in and was right away up front with the leaders.
It's Paul Krohn going up Columbus. Gonna head over to Michigan Avenue now. We'll have to see. His last lap was that fastest lap. JJ Wang, 1 minute 19.956. We just talked about these guys setting a fast lap, and he has laid down a gauntlet half a second faster than his competitors. It might already be beginning here, Cody.
Yeah, just an absolute flyer out of him. We haven't seen anyone in the 19-second bracket, so we'll see if Paul and Jeff can respond to that.
At the north end of the track, Jackson Street, over to Columbus, the final corner. Let's see if Paul Krohn can get that half a second up. I was trying to look at split times. I didn't see that many, but he's going to cross the start-finish line on Columbus Avenue, and he crosses, and it did not count. It must have been a warm-up, so we'll see now with just over 5 minutes left. And where is Mathis as well? And it's interesting that Broderick's nowhere to be found here. Jeff's going to come off the final corner, and we'll see where he will come out. Not sure if he's on a flyer. It says their last laps were all their fastest laps. So Mathis crosses the line to begin a lap as well. So let's keep an eye on these two. One guy that I'll keep an eye on as well is Broderick Johnson, but he was 2 seconds down in the first sector split.
I do know as well, Jordan Pritchard did have a 20.7 in practice, so he has the pace of these front runners. So we could have 5 guys within the same second bracket.
So tricky to get right with all the surface changes here in Chicago. Paul nips the wall on exit. Not sure if that's going to count as a 0X through the bumps. The wall juts out. The subway tunnels at the north. Crossing connection issues. I thought it was me. Unless I am. Crossing the line. Let's see what happens with Paul. 1 minute 21.3, nowhere close.
Nope, so we have yet to get a good couple flyers, and then everything has calmed down. I think guys are starting to really push it. We'll see if I know Broderick and Jordan are 2 other fast guys are on flying laps as well, and they're coming up. We'll see if they can put a good time on the board.
JJ's hit a wall on one of his flying laps, so time is running out, and we talk about it, that you need to have your lap done when 0 seconds hits. It's not like Formula One or any other racing series, if you're new, where if you hit the line before 0 seconds, you'll get that lap. The session is over, so you have to factor in that extra time. Broderick Johnson, I'm looking off monitor, runs it wide and into the fence in turn number 6. We focus on Jeff Mathis. There's a little bit of damage on the back of that 72, but he's going to have 1 lap left. This is his final run to see if he can displace, I should say, Wang and Krohn. But like I mentioned, he'll have this 1 lap once he gets up to speed to see if he can take the fight to these two, his teammate and to Paul Krohn. I don't know if Krohn's on a flying lap. He gave up a lot of time exiting Lakeshore or entering Lakeshore Drive. And JJ Wang through the 8, 9, and 10 complex at the north end of the track.
Yeah, coming through See if he can set even a faster lap. That'd be pretty wild if he can.
If he does, it solidifies pole position for him in the 61 out of the final corner. Down Columbus across the start-finish line is JJ Wang on a flyer. Now he is as he begins his lap, but he nicks the wall on entry. I don't know if that'll hurt him there. As I'll take a look off monitor at Paul Crone through the middle sector, trying to finish this lap and take the fight to JJ Wang. Half a second is the gap between them. As Crone was down in the first split, looks like JJ Wang might be up in the first split, comparatively speaking to his lap time, as hopefully we can catch Paul Crone here. Crossing the start-finish line in the 38. Will he have... No, he does not have the pace. And that might be it for him. Unless he sends it, he's going to have about 6 seconds, maybe, if he doesn't have an issue here, Cody. But he's hauling.
Yeah, as him and Jordan Pritchard, their nose to tail, they're drifting through these corners using that all-wheel drive.
Mathis is off track, so he will not have anything against JJ Wang. Where is Crone?
Ooh, he just clipped the wall again.
Up Columbus to the middle sector. Into turn 6, turn 7, a couple 90 left, 90 right. With the tricky, almost bus stop. And I don't know if the drifts in the first couple of corners have affected him. JJ Wang has gone quicker at a 1:19, very deep into the corners, Paul, and that might have sealed his fate. Terrible entry into the wall. That's going to seal it, Cody. And appropriately, as JJ Wang goes quicker than his last lap, Crone into the fence, and that's another pole position for JJ Wang, as Pritchard into the fence as well.
And Broderick Johnson sideways out of the last corner, a 21.4. That helps him improve. Well, shout out to James Watson, also breaking in the 22nd bracket with a 20.8.
As now we get ready for our first feature of the evening, and we'll talk points a lot tonight. But JJ Wang on pole position ahead of Paul Crone, ahead of Jeff Mathis, right where he needs to be to take this championship away from his competitors. Wang and Crone on the first row. Mathis, Pritchard, Watson, Johnson, Carswell, Johansson, Henn, and Mathis. That's our 10-car grid. Remember, our series and coverage brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, visit serviceexperts.com. As Cody Erdmann alongside me, my name is Josh Mertz. We have Bryan Sawyer in the production truck for round 3 of 3 for the Service Experts eTriple Crown here in EMSA. As we have a 20-minute feature ahead of us, a 5-minute warm-up after that, and another 20-minute feature to settle the championship and settle the year 2022 for EMSA and for ASN. Glad you could be along for the ride, whatever capacity that you may be, but we're going to have a wonderful night tonight. Getting ready. A couple cars missing, JJ Wang and Carswell and Cameron Henn, so we just wait for them to grid. Turn 1's going to be interesting, Cody. None of these guys are going to back down.
Honestly, I think the first, I would say about 3 corners, because they're all
in qualifying.
I would say the easiest spots where it's enticing to pass. It's probably the most easiest spot as well to pass, so we'll have to keep an eye on. Hopefully no one gets too eager and tries dive bombing it.
As the time ticks down, we got Wang on track. We're waiting for Carswell and Henn. Henn is on track. We wait for Ben Carswell. Once he grids, we will go. Unless Carswell waiting for the last possible moment to get on grid in car number 48. I know it's a little bit of a psychological game to wait until the very last second. I don't know if Carswell's going to get on grid. Just under 10 seconds. He is on grid. Feature race number 1. Hard hats into turn 1 as we get ready in Chicago. We go green in Chicago. Off the line. Crone got a better jump than JJ Wang. Down to turn 1. He is at his bumper. Will he send it? No. Slow and steady into the first corner. Wang, Crone, Mathis. Watson got checked by Pritchard. So Pritchard, the winner from Daytona in the E-Roval, sits in P4. Very calm. Through turn 1, through turn 2 onto Lakeshore Drive for the first time and down the south end. I haven't seen any traffic on Lakeshore like this in quite some time. But down to turn number 4. Wang leads ahead of Krohn, ahead of Mathis, ahead of Pritchard and Watson, the top 5. Very calm so far, Cody, but JJ Wang needs to hold this lead.
Definitely the calm before the storm right now. I think everyone's trying to kind of eye each other up, see where their competitors' weakness is, and see if they can capitalize on it, or just kind of put the pressure on them and make the mistake.
I have almost, in the last 2 minutes, I've thought to myself, what oval track is this like? This reminds me of Darlington. You're racing the track. You're not going to race. I'm sure you'll race your competitors in the second feature, but this first feature, all about racing the track, racing yourself, and not putting into the fence. As everybody's single file, James Watson clobbers the wall from P5 in car number 39. Krohn's getting close. He's a car length away as we're back onto Columbus Avenue. But at the end of the first lap, JJ Wang leads by making maybe 2 car lengths over Paul Krohn. Down into turn 1. Mathis sits in 3rd. Pritchard, Watson, Johnson, Carswell. Broderick is stuck behind James Watson, so he's not getting any favors. Cameron Henn is pitted from the 10th position and last. And I think Paul is faster in the middle sector compared to JJ. Granted, it was 1 lap, but he was certainly close through that middle sector. Kind of tailed off in the 3rd and the 1st splits. But everyone leaving a little bit of daylight to those apexes, but we won't be seeing that for long. Though that daylight will be gone by the end of the evening.
As the top 4 have just gotten a little bit of a separation from Watson. Just kind of pretty much a 4-car train right now. It does look like James Watson did what you were talking about. The left front is a little bit pushed in, so it looks like he probably clipped one of the barriers.
As it was exiting turn 10, he clobbered the wall on driver's left, this corner that they're coming up to now. And it's, like I mentioned, it's racing the track because the track's not going to move, and it's your responsibility to get as close to those walls as you can without hitting them, and it's certainly so tricky. Top 4 haven't changed, haven't really seen any movement throughout the field, but Broderick Johnson losing time hand over fist compared to James Watson. Fastest lap, a 1 minute 23.954, goes to JJ Wang. He was at least 4/10 faster than Mathis and Krohn, and he was about 6 or 7 tenths faster than Jordan Pritchard. So commanding out in front is JJ Wang.
The amount of wall contact I'm hearing, I swear, everyone's destroying their race cars, and I looked and
Krohn into the fence between 4 and 5. Left rear, I think he broke the left rear. He was very squirrely under acceleration, exiting turn 5 up Columbus. Going to 6 and 7. We'll just have to look and see if that's going to hurt him. But that was a huge whack on the left rear of that 38.
That left rear has a lot of you can see it visibly pushed in pretty far.
And he loops it. Let's keep in mind, he is the points leader. He has lost 2 places. He has a 2-point lead over Jeff Mathis and a 3-point lead over JJ Wang. So this is crucial for that championship run.
I believe we do have a fast repair, so I think the smartest thing would be just to pit and take the fast repair.
But it's also a matter of, will you get out ahead? Krohn will head to the pit lane in the 38. I don't know if he realized that there was a pit lane speed limiter. He was really late on that. Our points leader pits from the 4th position, and he'll just have to hope that unintentionally he's benefiting by getting that pole position to the invert, and that everyone else gets stuck in traffic. Judging by the fact that it's so hard to pass early on here, that might be the best course of action.
Yeah, that could be. Cameron Henn is back on track too, so he is 1 lap down though, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
And I think did Paul get out of the car? He did. He got out of the car. Paul might be done. Well, there's no might. I don't see a driver model in there. And for everyone who's new to iRacing, I believe when the driver model is not in the car, that means that the driver's not in the car. So this is huge. Paul's back in the car now.
I wonder if you just kind of jumped out to quick watch the replay just to see what mistake he made. that unfortunately could cost him the title.
I feel like he might have gotten a speeding in the pit lane because he was really overcooking it in the 38. He will exit the pit lane now, but he's going to be a lap down, or 95% to a lap down, as he comes out right ahead of our race leader, JJ Wang. So I don't know.
I wasn't trying to block it.
I don't really know what you would call it here, but Paul Crone, I guess, just going to spend this first feature getting experience.
Oh, good.
As Broderick Johnson gets by James Watson finally for P4. And JJ Wang pulling away from his teammate Jeff Mathis. And I remember in a NASA Rallycross race, I asked James Watson before, I said, you guys have been running away with everything. Is there any team orders? He says, nope. It wasn't that PG. It was very colorful. But no team orders at TWR. So if Mathis gets to Wang,
I'm dead.
it's going to be a good one as Broderick Johnson clobbers the fence.
Yeah. Yeesh, that was a hard hit.
And unfortunately, I think he did exactly what we talked about watching out doing.
Missed the apex, clobbers the tires. I looked off monitor, and Broderick Johnson out. And while we were talking about that, Paul Crone clobbered the wall as well in the 38 in turn 6. Deep on the brakes, trying to gain time up, and into the fence he went. And it's just racing the track. And I feel like I'm going to beat that dead horse all evening long, but I've never personally seen a race like this where there's not that much passing, and it's you versus the track.
Yeah, I think your analogy of this being a road version of Darlington is probably the best thing. Because it is so narrow and so, like, you have to be within inches every lap for 20 minutes here. So 20 minutes times 2 here. So it's going to be a very entertaining race to watch. These guys just try to battle themselves versus track.
As Martin Mathis and Adrian Johansson battling for the 6th position, it looks like. Down Columbus into turn number 1, put Johansson up a spot, put him to P6. As Broderick Johnson back on track, Cameron Henn pits along with Broderick Johnson. They are off monitor there. As we look still at Johansson versus Mathis, Martin Mathis. And that's for 6th position. So let's get a count of how many people have had an issue. James Watson, Paul Crone, Broderick Johnson, Cameron Henn. Nearly half the field has had an issue so far here in Chicago. JJ Wang. It took the words out of my mouth because I'm looking through these two. Cody, look at Mathis and look at JJ Wang. They ran the exact lap time. 124.918 for both of them.
Let's see if they can do it again.
Crosses the line 124.183 to a 124.9 as Cameron Henn stays out of the way of the top 2. Paul Crone, I wonder if there's going to be any shenanigans with him. I trust that there won't be. Paul doesn't come off like that to me. But certainly going to be kicking himself because that, I think, unfortunately, might take him out of the title race. Granted, we still have one feature race left, and we've seen crazy stuff happen. But it's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, that's the one thing especially when the less amount of rounds you have, the more the pressure is to have every race perfect. You mess up one race, and even with this so we had essentially 6 races to score points, and unfortunately, the one race mistake is gonna bite him without making him have the title.
As Jordan Pritchard still sitting in P3, James Watson P4, Ben Carswell, another TWR car, sits in P5. He's going to be working on his team owner for that 4th position, but JJ Wang certainly going to cross halfway in this first feature race, 3.5 seconds ahead of his teammate Jeff Mathis. And we'll look and see as Wang crosses the line, 1 minute 24.5 to a 1 minute 25.1 for Jeff Mathis. So JJ Wang certainly great at conserving tires, conserving energy. And Ben Carswell has lost his teammate's tail, his team owner's tail, those guys battling for the 4th and 5th position.
Have to give a little shout out here to Team Watson Racing Setups, as all 5 cars in the top 5 are all Team Watson Racing setup cars.
As I noticed, so TWR, there's a sequential car, but you guys do basically have a technical alliance with TWR. Yes. And James Watson has a bajillion cars in every single series, it seems. And there's some interesting developments on the points front. If it were to end right now, the tentative points would be a tie for Mathis and JJ Wang. This is going to get spicy in turn 1 of this second feature race. Especially if one of these guys can get by one of the back markers and then the other guy gets stuck behind. I think there's going to be some pretty desperate moves being made.
Crazy question. Do we know what the tiebreaker is for points?
The tiebreaker is the feature race the feature result of the second feature.
But I'm saying of like the series.
That is. It's the same thing.
Oh, the same thing. So
yes,
like the final race. Okay.
Yes, I had a chat with Dylan Thomas, or more so Dylan Thomas chatted into Discord and told us that, so we're not completely clueless as to how it's going to work. Thank you guys all for joining us on the Automotive Sports Network. This is round 3 of the Service Experts eTriple Crown for the EMSA Service Experts eTriple Crown, eRoval, whatever it may be. As we look at Ben Carswell chasing down his team owner, James Watson. Josh Mertz, Cody, Erdmann, Bryan, Sawyer. Having some fun this evening, and it might be a little bit laid back because there's not too much action, but we will certainly have a hell of a show in this second feature race. As tentatively there's a tie in points between TWR teammates Jeff Mathis and JJ Wang for this Triple Crown. And it's only a 6-point gap back to Paul Crone, but the eRoval champion certainly will not go down without a fight. So the gap has lengthened. It's 5.2 seconds compared to the 3.5 that it was a couple moments ago. And Paul Crone might be getting lapped, Cody.
I don't think I would ever have thought I would have heard that sentence, especially coming from last season. But
the domination that Crone had. 5 wins. I do believe. I don't have the stat book in front of me. I apologize there. 5 wins. At least it was 5 podiums in a row overall. And just the one mistake of such a tricky circuit, and he's over half a second slower than JJ Wang. And Mathis is a second slower than Wang. So JJ on a mission, in the zone, whatever cliche you want to use, Cody.
Yeah, he's just putting down lap after lap within tenths of each other. Kind of looking here.
Just kisses the wall at the south end of the track.
He is yet to have a... As we've seen, Jeff, he's been in the 25-second bracket the last couple laps here. JJ is yet to have a 25-second. He's been 124 every single lap.
The only lap that I can see on his... Actually, that might have been in practice. Yep, ignore me. I know what I'm talking about. I was going to say, yeah, he ran 1 lap, and I didn't see there was practice, so I apologize there. It's been a long day, long weekend.
And pretty much every single one has been, besides lap 5, every single one's been under, like, the low half of it.
That's impressive.
Yeah, especially on this, like, technical and tight of a circuit.
Yeah, even with tire degradation. Let's see what'll happen here. He is still pushing hard. We're going to cross just under a quarter of this first feature race left to go. And JJ Wang putting on a clinic in this field. He's going to cross the line. 1 minute 24.5. The consistency continues here with the 61.
The last 4 laps was 540, 518, 428, 582.
Let's ride on board JJ Wang here. And let's just listen and watch the consistency here for a little bit. And we were on board for half a lap, 3/4 of a lap, and all the bumps and everything, like I had mentioned, so tricky. We're going to see if he can maintain this consistency. He got a little squirrely in turn number 6. 1 minute 25 dead.
There's his first one.
First slow-ish lap since lap 5. 1 minute 24.871. As we look at Watson versus Carswell, this battle still heating up. Team owner Watson against one of his team cars, Carswell. And Carswell has been quicker than his team owner down to turn 1. Watson in the middle of the road. Compromised his exit of turn 1. Carswell the inside of his team owner. Will Watson put up a fight? We're going to be side by side going southbound on Lakeshore Drive. 2 turns 4 and 5 near the Museum of Science and Industry. And Carswell takes the spot.
It was the drag race down. Then it was pretty much who's going to be the first one to blink and brake. There's now like come back down to the fountain section.
As Paul Crone has still not been lapped by JJ Wang, but JJ Wang holds a nearly 6-second gap now over his teammate Jeff Mathis.
So Paul is P8 at the moment, a possibility, depending. He does have a rabbit to chase, but not enough time, unfortunately, now that I look at it. So it looks like most likely Paul will be P8, so I'll put him P3 on the invert.
The only thing that he can hope for is that he can get ahead of the top 2 and hold that spot for the rest of the evening. And that the JJ and Jeff get stuck in traffic. Because we saw in Long Beach, if Paul needs to make a move, he'll make a move. 8 to second in one corner. But we haven't seen JJ or Jeff do that. And this is the moment that you'll have to make that move. In a couple moments after this warm-up. Because, granted, we still have 2.5 minutes. They could still theoretically crash. Not trying to do a commentator's curse. They could still crash. Who knows?
Speaking of commentator's curse, I was just flipped to the Watson and Carswell battle, and them going through turn 2 were both sideways through it. I thought they were both spinning.
We did see sequential spins. At one point here in EMSA, and like we've mentioned before, just want to thank Broderick Johnson and Dylan Thomas for everything that they do running this series and allowing us to be along for the ride. 2023 going to be a great time for EMSA and for ASN, so be sure to join us. ASNTVUSA.com should have that up by the end of the year. And we may be transitioning back to YouTube for ASN Live, so keep an eye and make sure you subscribe on YouTube. ASN TV USA is the handle there to have all of our live and on-demand content. As pretty 95% sure we're going to end up doing that, so just so everyone knows.
Down 2 to go right now.
As 2 laps to go, 6.2-second lead for JJ Wang. He has not lapped Paul Crone. He's back into the 1 minute 24s. So the only lap that has not been a 1 minute 24 was 2 laps ago at a 1 minute 25.008. I wouldn't even count that as up 25. He's been consistently within half a second all race long.
Now let's see what he can do through the traffic, him and Jeff. You know what this reminds me of? Is the season where it was me and you, we tied going into the final race. And all you have to focus on is each other and beating each other.
I'm trying to remember what season that was, but I remember that race. And you'll have a lot of parallels in NASA Rallycross here on ASN. And like I said, if I was JJ or if I was Jeff, you focus on trying to catch Paul. You've got the rabbit to chase. We're going to take 1 lap to go here in Chicago for the first feature for the final round of this Triple Crown. You'll have the rabbit to chase in Paul Crone. He's going to be starting from P3, and you know, Cody, that he's going to be like you or I back then. He's going to know that his title rivals are stuck in a box. They have to figure out their way out of the box, and he has a better run to run away from them as they're getting out of that box.
Yeah, he's just going to have to get around Broderick and Cameron Henn, which Broderick isn't a bad person to try to chase anyways. So if he can kind of tuck in behind him, get around Cameron, and then be able to kind of chase down and run away with Broderick and then just get around him.
As up Columbus Street northbound, gonna have a slight jog over to Michigan Avenue. Through the chicane that they've got set up. And then we're going to end up going southbound on Columbus to finish this first feature. And JJ Wang has been out front since the start. And it might not have been as action-packed as everyone has expected. It might not have been action-packed at all, quite frankly. But the second feature will be super important to see if Paul Crone, who is going to start third, can take the fight to his championship rival, JJ Wang. Crone can see him in his mirror, but he's a lap down. JJ Wang wins feature race number 1. Jordan Pritchard got by Mathis.
Yeah.
We missed it. What happened to Mathis? This is crucial for him. Pritchard will come home in second.
He spun.
Mathis, a slight mistake. Looks like he had net code. I don't think that was... It was the surface change. He took too much speed in. It changed from concrete to asphalt, and the 72 looped it. I'm not sure why you'd be pushing that hard.
Just a look. Getting out by yourself like that, I wonder if you just lost focus there for a second, thinking about what to do for that next race.
That's happened once or twice to me. You get so in the zone of driving, and you don't think that you got time to give. And around he went.
Could be a possibility. He was thinking about that next race too. His strategy going into it, kind of, you're already, in a way, you're almost done with this one. You're already thinking about your next one. It's a pretty crucial race.
As we'll bring in JJ Wang, first feature race winner. Cody, all yours.
Hey there, JJ, you got us?
Hey there. Yeah, I got you, Cody.
So you came into this race, did exactly what you needed to. Got quick time, ran away from the field, which, by the way, we commend you on what you were doing there.
The consistency was wild.
Yeah,
that
you
was
had
great.
one lap, and it was just a 25 flat. Every lap was a 20 in the 24-second bracket. We were in awe watching you come around this track.
Thanks. Super appreciate it. I don't know that I could ever do that again, but a bunch of energy drinks definitely help right before this race.
So with that being said, now you're going to be, unfortunately, but also fortunately with winning the first race, you're going to be at the tail end of the field here in the race 2. What is it going to take for you to be able to drive through the field?
Probably just be patient, but also just really just be just kind of be assertive with where kind of my car is. That's actually something that Jeff and I talked. He went through some of my old races and just noted a little bit of tentativeness in my overtaking, and it might have contributed to some incidents before that. Maybe might have not. So I'll try to take his advice to heart. He's been a great teammate to me. But both him and I, he's probably going to try to send it a little bit more. I'm not sure how the points shake out, but I just have to make sure I make my way kind of around the cars, and it's a real tight track. If a car just loses it or hits the wall, it spins back on the racing line, your race is done as well. So, I'll just take it corner by corner, just kind of see where the opportunities may come. But if not, just not to sweat it and not to like spin out on my own, because that's like it's really easy to do on this track as well. So yeah, that's
interrupt super fast. Your teammate actually did that on his own. On that final lap, I was going to kind of prod Cody and let him know at points. You were tied with Jeff unofficially until he spun on that final lap. You have a 1-point lead over Jeff and a 6-point lead over Paul. So I don't know if that changes your thought process.
Well, kind of doesn't, because I still need to kind of race with Jeff as well. But him being a teammate, just kind of try to keep a cool head, not to do anything too embarrassing on the broadcast. And yeah, well, I guess we'll just take it corner by corner, just see what happens.
Alrighty, sir. Do you have anyone or anything you'd like to thank for your P1 in this first feature?
Yeah, great thanks to Jeff. A lot of what you saw is just him and I just kind of talking about setups, what to do with the settings. Made a big difference. And then I'd love to thank Ben and James for coming out just to help me in my championship cause, or me and Jeff's championship cause, I should say. They're kind of doing good work, just taking points off of Paul. And I guess we'll just I guess I have to also thank you guys as well for putting on the broadcast. So that's in case I don't see you guys again. Hopefully I do see you guys again.
Well, don't sell yourself short. Good luck, my friend, and hopefully we'll have a chat with you later on.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks.
That was embarrassing. I moved myself.
I watched that.
Of moving him. I'm really good at this Discord thing. Hello everyone, welcome to the third and final round of the EMSA Service Experts eTriple Crown Challenge. We're on the streets of Chicago, Illinois, Lakeshore Drive, Michigan Avenue. I'm an hour away. I told them that I was going to have film and decide, yeah, this will be pretty cool. And then I realized I don't want to go in the city. There's a lot of people. Josh Mertz, Cody, Erdmann, Bryan, Sawyer, along for the ride here on the Automotive Sports Network Live or on ASN On Demand. It's been a wonderful 2022, both for EMSA and for NASA. We'll have some wonderful series that we're doing next year. EMSA has their world tour that they're doing. They have their E-Roval, their Triple Crown for street tracks, their Triple Crown for endurance races. And I heard through the grapevine, I don't know if it's my place to kind of announce, but they are having the LMDH as part of their series as well. Bryan, if you can bring up that Discord link on that graphic. If you'd like to join EMSA, Discord link below on that graphic. It's a wonderful group of guys. We thank Broderick Johnson. We thank Dylan Thomas for having us along for the ride in 2022 for this kind of pilot series that they've been doing. 2023 is going to be awesome. As well as the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge for the 28th season, I believe. I've been doing this so long, I can't even remember. Either way, we're going to return February 27th. Myself, Philip Cross, Bryan Sawyer for that. So excited to get that rolling. Discord link on that graphic as well.
Are we on year number 11 with that? Year-wise?
Yeah, year 11. And if you told me that is incredible. If you told me in 2012 that I was going to be racing Rallycross for 11 years in a row, I thought you were crazy. So it's been a wild ride for EMSA, wild ride for NASA, and I just need a quick preview, or what do you think is going to happen in this final 20 minutes?
I'm kind of curious on what each other... Well, so we pretty much have it narrowed down to Jeff and JJ, as Paul has unfortunately set himself back. Unless something crazy happens, I think them two are just going to worry about each other and just try to battle on who can get in front of each other. I think this turn one is going to be the most important turn of this entire Triple Crown.
Bryan has said if Paul wins and Jeff gets fourth and JJ gets fifth, we'll have a 3-way tie. That's going to be wild. Hopefully you don't hear my cat screaming in the background. He's kind of crazy and does what he wants. But the grid for our third and final race, second feature of the evening, Cameron Henn and Broderick Johnson on the front row of the grid. Remember, it's an invert. We saw Martin Mathis ahead of Paul Crone. So Paul got by Martin, which both hurt and helped him. Adrian Johansson and Watson. We're already green here in Chicago. That was a quick turnaround down to turn one. Henn's going to lead Johnson, lead Mathis side by side. Crone goes to the inside. Where's our championship competitors? JJ Wang and Mathis. Mathis is ahead of his teammate into turn two now. Much quicker than I anticipated. Broderick leads. Cameron Henn side by side with Crone. Crone gets by him for the second spot. Cody, this is crucial. Mathis and JJ stuck in traffic.
Yeah, they've already worked around 3 cars. Let's see if they can work around anymore. I thought JJ was going to have a better run.
One car wide into the fence. It's Cameron Henn.
And Paul ran wide through the access road. So that just kills his entire advantage.
As Paul exits the Joker, even though it's not NASA, up Columbus, down to turn number 6. Will Mathis fight the outside, last of the late breakers? Paul has to defend. Paul across the racing line. Martin Mathis into the fence ahead of him. And now this is spicy because the other 2 championship guys are right behind him, but Martin Mathis in the way. They've got to dispatch him quickly.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is like the worst spot to be stuck behind a slower driver. Is now Jeff is going to watch Paul just drive away from him.
Martin offline. Remember, no relation to the 2 Mathis. Martin Mathis, and Jeff has to get by. At the end of the first lap, it looks like it's going to be Broderick Johnson leading James Watson, leading Paul Crone, as Cameron Henn clobbered the wall at the south end of the track. Broderick leads Watson, and now Mathis and JJ both are going to have to work to get by Martin Mathis.
Yeah, they went from 8 to 5 and 9 to 6 on the first lap. So
we will get, of course, points throughout the evening. Martin Mathis defends, parks the bus on the apex ahead of Jeff Mathis. Mathis not happy, side drafting down Lakeshore Drive at the south end of the track. Here's JJ Wang potentially giving his teammate a bump draft into the south end, into turn 4, into turn 5. Mathis misses the corner. Where's JJ? He gets by him. I thought Mathis was going to crash on corner entry. Such a shallow line. He was trying to defend so hard.
now all 3 cars were dispatched from Martin Mathis.
So hopefully we can grab our ticker back, as we were so confused as to what was happening. We didn't have our ticker, so apologies there. I only knew that we were going green by iRacing telling me green flag, so apologies on that one. I wasn't expecting everyone to grid that quickly. Everyone's super excited to race in this final feature. So let's get a reset. What happened to James Watson? Watson got passed by Crone. Second.
Same thing. He did the same thing, but just saved it off the wall that Jeff Mathis did. But he just bounced it off the wall, so that helped Paul get around him. So now, you said no team orders. I wonder if his 2 team points drivers, once they get to him, if he's just going to let them go.
I trust that James would know that he is not going to be as fast as his guys, and he would get out of the way. At least that's how I've always thought of it. Like when we would race together, there was no team orders, but when one of us was out of the equation or much slower, we would move over. And I trust that James Watson is going to do that as well. Paul Crone, 1 minute 25. He set fastest lap. Put that into perspective, Mathis was 2 seconds slower, him and JJ Bolt, so that squabbling with Martin Mathis affected them big time.
Also, do you remember what positions we had to have for a 3-way tie? Because if Paul gets the P1, we're going to
That's it. That's incredible. As Bryan put it in the Discord chat as a joke, but Paul Crone is close to catching Broderick Johnson. Mathis is 4th. Wang is 5th. If he gets by, that'd be a 3-way tie.
But Watson is unfortunately the car in between, and I have a gut feeling he's just going to let his teammates go.
We'll have to see.
You never know. He may make them work for it.
We will have to see. And Broderick doesn't want to give the spot up to Crone either. As Broderick says, I wasn't here for the first race, but I certainly want to take the fight. And if I was here for the first one, I would win this championship.
Paul Crone throwing down another fast lap, 24-1.
2 seconds faster than James. So his 2 team cars catching him quickly at a high rate of knots.
And
Mathis and JJ Wang.
Paul was 8
Pritchard
up. Paul was 8 tenths up on Broderick, so he is catching him.
So these guys have to be weary, because if they make a mistake, your guy Jordan Pritchard will sneak in and take the spot away. And we've seen how easy it is to make a mistake, whether it was at the south end using the runoff or clobbering the barrier in turn 6. But I think James is going to do exactly what we thought. Mathis to the inside. He'll have to give it up in the braking zone here. Let's take a look and see. Mathis deep on the brakes. Watson's not going to battle him. He's going to let his guys by. And he's going to let Pritchard by.
It's pretty much a 3-car train here. Now sitting 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Crone was 7 tenths up on Broderick Johnson that last lap. Let's try and get a points update once it refreshes. Now, as they've dispatched from James Watson, this has eased the pressure off of the 2 TWR cars in relation to losing the championship to Paul Crone. But now, I think it's just going to be a winner-take-all between these guys. And I think JJ is just going to bide his time here.
Pretty much, although if we finish right now, Jeff would win the title on the tiebreaker, as these 2 would tie in points.
So it's all a matter of, because even if Crone catches Johnson, that'll give him 1 point, but he still wouldn't get close enough. So they have to hope that Pritchard, or Crone has to hope that Pritchard can get by both of these guys, but that's a tall order. These guys have been on top of their game all season long. E-Roval and for the Triple Crown.
Because I don't...
Into the fence goes JJ Wang in turn 5.
I was just going to say, I don't think Pritchard would As he seems like he's pretty content behind these guys, but I could be wrong. Especially if they make a mistake like what JJ just did.
Didn't hit it as bad as we expected or as we thought. But Mathis, 3/10 up on his teammate last lap. Cronin crashed in turn 7. Paul Crone, hard hit.
Oh, no.
For the 38. It was turn 8. I apologize there. He clipped the tire barriers, clobbered the wall.
Oh, he clobbered it again. Ooh.
And that's it. Paul Crone out of the championship fight. Here comes Pritchard to get in the way of the 2 TWR cars. And we talked about earlier on as nearly JJ gets hit by Pritchard.
As that could have been the spot for JJ to capitalize to get around Mathis, but he backed it down and just tucked in line.
We have just over 10 minutes left to go, and this is the battle for the championship. We can forget about the race lead. We can forget about Paul Crone, unfortunately, as our eRoval champion heads to the pit lane defeated. Unless something catastrophic goes on, this is the battle for the championship. It's a winner-take-all between JJ Wang and Jeff Mathis, and JJ on the brakes, not pressuring his teammate, but also, I would also view this as a battle like us. It was more psychological than anything else.
Yeah, these two drivers know they've practiced with each other all week. They know they're pretty much exactly can run the same lap times each lap. Unfortunately, Mathis may have a little bit of a mental disadvantage watching JJ drive away from him that last race. So he knows that he has to hold him behind him because otherwise that could happen again.
He can park the bus. I almost view this like Lewis Hamilton against Nico Rosberg in 2016 in Abu Dhabi. Lewis backed up everybody into Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel, and Rosberg nearly lost the championship. So would you potentially do that if you were in Mathis's shoes? I know I might have thought about it when we were battling for a championship. So at the end of the day, as soon as the other team guy is out of the equation, you're not teammates anymore. It is mano a mano. You don't care about the team game. They finish now. They are tied at 170. Jeff Mathis would win the championship on that tiebreaker. Just to remind everybody, if they tie, the tiebreaker is the best finish of the second feature.
So we're just kind of watching to see. JJ has slid back from Mathis a little bit. He ran 3/10 down that last lap. And Pritchard's just on the back wing. I think the last couple corners, JJ has slipped up a little bit.
Broderick certainly still loves this. He might be a second slower than Jeff, but Jeff doesn't care. Jeff Mathis, that is. JJ Wang was 3/10 down on his teammate that last lap around. We have just over halfway left to go here in Chicago. It goes quick. And these two are going to be the main focus of the last 10 minutes. But Jordan Pritchard, sneaking into the picture, as I say that, rides the wall between turn 7 and 8. Might have flattened the left side of that car. And the direction changes that you have to make these cars have to be inch perfect. And we've seen all evening long, it is you against the track.
There's Mathis right now just trying to focus out the front windshield and out of the back. As JJ, a really good run out of that final corner. See if he throws a Hail Mary here.
4/10 up on his teammate that last lap around. I could see where you're coming from with the Hail Mary. I wouldn't do it this early, though. Because if you get by clean, I wouldn't even think about doing that. Just follow him until a couple minutes left. You'll get a couple good shots to make something happen. But like I mentioned earlier, it's more of a psychological game like you and I had. You know he's behind you. Just the trailing car is going to force his teammate into a mistake. In this case, it's JJ Wang. It's easy to do that because the guy ahead, you keep him wondering, is he going to make a move? Is he just going to stay there? You overthink, you miss your braking point. The road you go.
And the thing is, if you can almost try to, the following car, you can almost try to bait them into making a mistake, make it seem like you're going to dive in for a move, but then just back out of it at the last second. And on a tight track like this, it may not be it's probably not the best thing to say, but it's almost probably the best tactic to use.
Even like I just mentioned, as soon as Paul Crone got eliminated from this discussion, the teammate factor goes out the window. It's you versus your competitor, you versus me versus Phil, whatever it might have been relating to the NASCAR Rallycross stuff. Like I mentioned, for all of you on the Automotive Sports Network. There's a lot of that, given those circumstances of how long that championship ran. We relate to that a lot. But that's my thought process on that. And we have just over about 8 minutes left here, Cody. We'll probably see 4 or 5 laps if we're lucky.
Yeah, they're still chasing down Broderick too, so this is probably the worst thing for JJ right now is that Jeff does have that rabbit to go chase, and it's getting bigger and bigger in his windshield.
Last lap was a 1 minute 25.937 for Broderick Johnson, 1 minute 24.261 for Jeff Mathis, and a 1 minute 24.6 for JJ Wang. So JJ's given up a little bit of time here, deep on the brakes, catching Mathis in turn 7. We ride on board. JJ Wang in car number 61, currently sitting 3rd on the road. It would be a podium in the second feature after winning the first feature, but I don't want to have to interview JJ Wang after this result.
10,000 pounds.
As Pritchard has backed off these top 2, so now it's just a 2-car battle. And they have really caught Broderick this lap.
1 minute 26.3 for Broderick.
The Hummer's 4,000 pounds.
24.6 for Mathis, 24.2 for JJ. He is fastest of these top 3, and they are bearing down on Broderick Johnson.
Ooh.
Jeff Mathis clips the wall on corner entry. Nearly into the wall on
Those
corner.
are neat factoids for an electric series race. This may not be the time to do this.
As hopefully we caught that team radio with Jeff Mathis, as Adrian Johansson giving good facts, but not at this not at this time. Would not be a good idea, as these guys all over Broderick Johnson.
Yeah, this may be the spot to capitalize for JJ. Box him in behind Broderick, deep on the brakes, down to a car length.
As Broderick, nothing ahead of him. He can focus on that clear track. Turn 7, turn 8. We saw calamity in turn 8. JJ Wang hits the wall. He was wide in the middle of the corner. The only thing he can hope for is that Broderick parks the bus and stays ahead of his teammate. At the north end of the track, turn 11, turn 12 on Columbus Avenue, southbound on Columbus Avenue over to Lakeshore Drive. What a picturesque circuit on the streets of Chicago to close out this Triple Crown. 5.5 minutes left. And Jeff Mathis holds a slim margin over his teammate, JJ Wang, but he wants to make that buffer with Broderick Johnson in the middle.
JJ needs to make sure that he is on the back wing of Jeff, because if not, whenever Jeff makes a move to get around Broderick, if he doesn't come with him, that's just going to let Jeff just go.
Bumper to bumper. This is more like Chicago traffic up Columbus. JJ Wang clips the wall on the exit of 5 down to 6. You have to make so much time up under braking.
Ooh, Jeff.
The inside goes Jeff. Looks on Broderick. That's going to affect his corner in turn 6.
Nuh-uh.
And Broderick Johnson over the radio. Bryan Sawyer busts out laughing over the production. As it is James Watson getting spicy here in Chicago. Under 4.5 minutes left to go, and the teammates are racing for this championship. And I never thought that I'd be talking about teammates battling for a championship again ever since I hung up the helmet, but it's certainly a great time here in EMSA. And Broderick, now we know he's not going to give up this spot without a fight.
No, he wants this win. He wants to win overall 2 races in a row. Jeff looks nothing there yet.
The overall win necessarily doesn't matter, comparatively speaking, but JJ would win the race overall ahead of Jeff, and then finishing 3rd overall would be Pritchard. So, not that that matters. We're more focused on the championship, and Jeff's still nowhere close. 1 minute 25.580 for Broderick, 1 minute 25.581 for Jeff Mathis. But JJ Wang was half a second faster than these guys. Defending is Broderick, northbound on Columbus to turn 6. out to corner entry, gave it a good line through the corner. 7-8. Still a tricky complex to get right. Jeff defended, was on driver's right. Not a good line through the corner. And the very bumpy 8, 9, and 10 chicane complex. And we've seen turn 10 bite so many people. And JJ Wang just under half a second, maybe 3/4 of a second away from a championship. And Jeff Mathis might be sealing this championship. We still have under 3 minutes, Cody. I would say just about 2 laps.
It does seem like the rear tires are starting to get angry at Jeff. I've noticed the back end of his car is starting to slide around a little bit more than we've seen. Let's see if that ends up biting him.
He's 2/10 fast, and the Broderick, he slides! Here comes his teammate, JJ Wang. They're going to be side by side down Lakeshore Drive. Heading southbound to turn number 4. JJ Wang on the outside. Driver's left. Driver's right. Jeff Mathis. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? Jeff is deep on the brakes. Nearly slide job. Broderick's into the fence, and the teammates go by. Here comes Jordan Pritchard as well. We talked about the first feature, not as exciting as the second, and this is beginning to deliver. The teammates have nothing ahead of them now. This is it.
I got it again.
Jeff just brushes the wall. This is not what JJ needed, though, because now Jeff can just run his own race and not have to worry about out the back.
We might get 2 laps to go here. I'm not sure how iRacing is going to do it. We'll just have to wait and see if Barney will throw the white flag. But Jeff Mathis ahead of his teammate JJ Wang. Jordan Pritchard third on the road now, as clobbering the wall was Broderick Johnson. And Paul Crone also crashed as well, I heard over team radio.
As Broderick's car is pretty much done. He just spun out. So now we're these 3.
This is it. This is the white flag of the eTriple crown. And JJ Wang is half a second away from his teammate. Deep into turn 1. Has to make something happen.
Do you throw the Hail Mary into 6? Because that's your last desperate.
I could see where you're coming from. I don't know. I would almost go super deep here into turn number 4, but Jeff was deep on the brakes when he needed to be. Here comes JJ. Couldn't make it happen as that corner looks wider than it is. Exiting turn 5 to turn 6. Gap is half a second still between Jeff Mathis and JJ Wang. Half a lap to go. And this is realistically the only shot unless Mathis has an issue. But if he learned from last race, you don't want to push when you don't have to. 7 through 11, such a tricky complex. It's you versus the track like we've talked about all evening long. So cautious. In turn 8, rounding turn 9 to turn 10. Will he do the same thing? Still very cautious. 2 right-hand 90-degree corners left. For Jeff Mathis, we'll have to see what will happen. Final corner. Jeff Mathis is going to do it. He will win the EMSA Triple Crown in the best possible fashion on a tiebreaker.
And JJ, nice race.
Against JJ Wang, his teammate, and the TWR cars delivered.
Way to get back up there, 9.
And Paul Crone had some issues.
Thank you, sir.
It's just an absolute perfect drive there by Jeff just to hold him behind him.
The championship in the best possible style goes to Jeff Mathis, his fourth race in this car
I'd like to thank
in EMSA.
Porsche Engineering for making this car able to withstand not 1, not 2, but 3 should-be race-ending impacts in both races.
As those are our results from the second feature. Mathis, Wang, Pritchard, top 3. Watson,
different must have made your car.
Carswell, top 5.
Mine had a wheel hanging off of it the last 2 laps.
I'd like to thank Will Power for making this car stronger.
And the graphic lists JJ Wang as
Good
ahead
run,
of them.
Paul, good run.
But
Absolute
remember,
commiserations and bitter luck for this one, but good job. That was a good championship.
as remember, it was a tiebreaker. Jeff Mathis wins.
Stop.
Just a graphic limitation is all. with Excel
I'm still
and
trying to recover from
ATDL.
hitting the wall last
Paul Crone goes from point leader to 10 points down in the final round.
We talked about the horseshoe with Paul Crone as a joke. Where's the horseshoe? Yeah, well, he lost it. And it was at the worst possible moment to lose that horseshoe. So consistent, so clean. And when you have to fight the track versus your competitors, Paul Crone cracked under the pressure. As you will have a chat with Paul Crone, our third place man in points. And we will go from there once I figure out if he's in Discord. He is not. So we will have you'll have a chat with JJ Wang instead.
Hey there, JJ, you got us?
Hey, yeah, I got you.
So, amazing drive there. Having to drive through the field. You and Jeff put on an amazing show for us. Is there anything, is there a time, a place that you wish you could have able to capitalize on trying to get around your teammate?
I think we both knew we were good on points. Or at least I was good on points. I just needed to make sure that there wasn't a gap between me and my teammate. As long as that wasn't the case, I think mostly it was just waiting for a mistake. I probably wasn't going to send it, especially with Jordan breathing down my neck right there. Because if he got by me, that probably would have been a slightly different story. But it was all throughout the race. We just played a wait and see. Jeff and I I think we went side by side into turn 3. That was a heart attack moment for the both of us. So that was like sincere racing. Like there weren't any team orders. But towards the end of the race, when Broderick kind of unfortunately had his incident and just Jordan behind me, towards the final few laps, we were like, okay, this is probably good enough. Jeff probably could have maybe tried to back me up a little bit, but we played well as teammates, I feel.
Yeah, as we know from James Watson, that his teams don't have any team orders. Go race, go have fun, race it out. And yeah, there was a couple times we noticed, and that one time where you guys were door to door doing the drag race down into turn 3 and 4, where it was pretty much that was the deciding moment where on the who would win the title there. Did you think you could have held around the outside of him through that section, or did you know that if you tried to, unfortunately, probably the worst was going to happen?
Yeah, that corner is real tough. It's just, especially with this car being the way it is, like there's this natural push on entry, on like initial braking, that I think maybe if I was like really desperate, I could have maybe tried it, but I think it was that's probably only going to end up with just me in the wall. Like maybe if the corner was a little bit less narrow, could have gone through there, but no, that was that probably wasn't going to happen. It's kind of like turning to Adelaide, like whoever's peeking up front, they just get the corner.
For sure. Who would you like to thank on getting you P2 in the title this season for the Triple Crown?
Love to thank my teammates. Jeff, he's a great teammate to me. Love to thank James for helping me represent the tricolors, and I'd like to shout out to Team Watson Racing Setups. If as throughout the season, we got better and better. That's a lot of that's down to the setups. And Jeff is like the big brain behind that. So if you see what we're doing, a lot of that's more setup than me. So go head on to teamwatsonracing.com. Go check out our setups over there. We have a big road side, a big oval side as well. And I'd like to shout out to my personal sponsor, Cold Drivers Pad. If you like to do rallying, with WRC Generations out, Dirt Rally 2.0, whatever, you'd like to have a friend as a co-driver, go check out coldriverspad.rf.gd. That's my co-driving pad software. You could have a friend just co-drive for you over like a screen sharing session. I have like a GUI software for that. It makes it real easy. So once again, for that URL, coldriverspad.rf.gd.
As there's one consolation prize that you get, my friend, and it is officially you win the race overall. But as Martin Truex said, you won the battle, You did not win the war. Good run overall, and we will see you in 2023.
Yeah, happy to get one of these finally, because I've knocking on the door for the overall win for a while, but I guess I finally get one now.
In the best worst scenario. Good run, friend.
Thanks very much, and thanks to you guys for a great broadcast.
Absolutely. I should have a bunch of questions written for you, but I just want to know how this feels. What was going through your mind when Broderick crashed? How was the car in general? What's your thoughts? Just word vomit to me, my friend, because you are the champion.
Hey, am I? We were just trying to work that out. We weren't certain.
You
Am
were
I champion?
tied, and you won the race. And that second feature gives you the tiebreaker, which gives you the championship.
Oh my god! All right, cool. Oh, that just my whole night just came a hell of a lot better. Oh, give me 1 second. I gotta take a drink. Man, that second race, that was a tough race. Fighting a lot of tire degradation. It definitely was cooler, but it was a hot track. We're fighting tire degradation big time. Took a big swing at it, just like Charlotte. It worked out. Man, JJ did a great job. We were making sure we were going to be good. Commiserations to Paul. That had to be a rough night for him. Man, yeah, watching Broderick, we're trying to be smart about it because we really can't screw it up, but we definitely want to get by him, and he was being very defensive into turn 4, which is probably the best. It was the best passing zone for me because I could get a good run through the double at 3. And so I was like, all right, we gotta be smart about this. And going into 3, he was really sketchy there, and I'm not surprised that's where it all went.
Speaking of sketchy, I want to ask you if you remember in that first feature race, it was on the white flag lap, and you were in third, I think, and you looped it in turn 6. I mean, was it a lapse in concentration? I mean, because you had a huge gap over, I think it was Jordan Pritchard, and you just looped it.
The setup was going away, the tires were hot, and I was dealing with a bit of a loose condition. The issue is with how short the wheelbase is, it doesn't take much to spin one around. And then, man, they do not turn around again to save their life.
You did pretty well doing burnouts that I caught on the internal feed here. Cody, you got anything for our champion?
First off, congratulations on winning the title, especially against your teammate. Josh and I were having kind of talking comparisons on what we had to deal with, so we kind of understand what you and JJ were feeling all night long, because Josh and I have been in the same situation. What were you thinking when JJ had a little bit of a slip up there coming through turn 2, and JJ was on your outside? That move of you holding him off pretty much sealed your fate on winning the championship. What was your thought there going into turn 3 and 4?
I just last 2 laps was just keeping it straight. That was all. That was the big thing, was just keeping it straight. Do check general, because Broderick is coming up with different numbers.
I don't understand what's happening, but all I know is Bryan has points on Discord, unless we got it horribly wrong. So we'll wait and see. It says that you'd be 171 and tied. Either way, I guess we'll let you go and we'll figure it out. And if we're horribly wrong, it is what it is. We're learning together. So tentatively, unofficially, you're the champion according to our points that we have, but it could be wrong. So we'll figure that out once we let you go. But is there anyone you'd like to thank for your result tonight?
Yes, I'd really like to give a big shout out to my dad. He's been amazing for 20 some odd years, and he got me into all this. That's been the biggest thing. When I was young, we got Gran Turismo for my Easter gift, and that's set me on this path. Big shout out to Team Watson. James was here. Great to see him have a good evening. JJ, he did a great job. Everybody at Team Watson, it's a real good team effort. And yeah, I want to give a shout out to I was running a special livery because we're in Chicago. I want to give a special shout out to my buddy John, Sebworks Designs. He's did some work on the livery of the car, and yeah, that's my list. It was a hell of a series.
Either way, whether you won or you didn't, it was a great championship. Unofficially, according to our tally, you won. But we're going to bring in Broderick right after you, and we're going to clear this up. So Either way, great run, and we will see you in 2023.
Sounds fantastic. You have a good night.
So we're going to bring in the man Broderick Johnson to tell us, did we mess this up or what is happening?
Okay, so here's what I got for you guys. Paul came in leading at 115. Jeff came in at 113. JJ came in at 112. We're not doing points for qualifying anymore for the Triple Crown. That was for the E-Roval before.
Right.
And do you guys have who did fastest lap tonight?
I did not think that fastest lap was given points.
Okay, so we have just off of finishing position, JJ finished with 63 points tonight. That would put him at 175. Jeff finished with 60, which puts him at 173. Paul finished 7th and 9th. So he lost quite a lot of points to those two guys tonight. Was not in the running after the first, essentially. What did you guys have calculated?
Yes, Bryan had a 171 tie, as I don't know if he was unmuted on our stream, but was tied at 171.
So JJ finished first in the first feature. That's a 33 point finish for him. And Jeff finished third, so that's a 27 point finish for him. Jeff finished first in the second feature, so 33 there, that's 60. And JJ finished second, which is 30, so that's 63. Let me see if I'm missing anything else there, but I think that's what it is, guys.
I wonder if we had it still posted for, because Jeff was still running second coming to the checkered and then he spun. Okay, that's my only thought. As Bryan said, he did switch it, so.
Well, I guess we're gonna have an awkward chat with JJ Wang.
Oh, he came back in and was definitely questioning you guys, but
So welcome to ASN, where the points are made up and everything doesn't matter. Apparently, JJ Wang, you are the champion. Apparently, I'm the champion now. I don't know.
Yeah, Broderick pulled me aside and he was just like, "Hey, you know what? Actually, I think you won this whole thing." And I was like, I think you're right, but I wasn't sure, so I just kind of went with it."
Let's all point and laugh at Bryan Sawyer. It's all his fault. It's all Bryan's fault, who is muted on our stream.
But. It's okay as long as I get the win somewhere. It's all good with me, right? Better late than never.
So he's our guy, everybody who's on ASN Live and ASN On Demand. We promise we know what we're doing, but I blame Bryan Sawyer. So yeah, JJ. I guess since we're dumb and we don't know how to do math, what are your thoughts on the championship?
Yeah, it's a tough fight. I think I was just telling the guys while I was just in the holding pen, like when I was like sideways at Detroit round like race 1, I thought it was super over. I was like, this is like the dumbest mistake ever, like too many points to Jeff and Paul. But just kind of goes to show, like, especially in a short champ like this, like a lot of things can happen. And I knew like Chicago was going to be, a tough one. There was always a chance that someone was going to bin it, and then that was going to be over. It's a great round for a great track selection for final round, really. But yeah, no, I just hard fought. I worked with Jeff a lot. I really got to give this to Jeff and the team. We didn't like test like all week round, but we did do a lot of just testing and just switching between datas and just kind of figuring out the settings. Like, it's not a lot of settings on this car, but some of those are real key to making sure the car rotates versus just plowing forward into the wall. So yeah, definitely have to give it to it's a good team effort. Like me and Jeff, and got to give thanks to him for just being a great teammate out there.
Alrighty, my friend. Well, we didn't intend on having a second chat, but I'll just claim that both of you are unofficially the champion until we figure this out. But good run either way.
Yeah, that works out for Team Watson, so we'll take it.
So we're going to close this up, and then we're going to go have a chat with Broderick Johnson and just figure out exactly who has won this championship. And I hate that we kind of don't know, but we're for sure going to have a chat and
I
figure
just
it
did
out.
Quick calculations, and I believe Broderick is correct.
We'll have a chat afterwards. Cody, give me a final thought before we close this up.
absolutely amazing Triple Crown season, I would say.
So good, we don't know who won the championship.
Exactly. It's the Triple Crowns. This is kind of the fun portion of just having a 3-race season instead of a big long season, where there's a good chance where you come down to the final race and it's a good. Here we had 3 drivers that could win the title this coming down to the final race, and we had a good possibility. And at one point, we almost were, where we had a 3-way tie. So really excited, especially seeing that there's gonna be 2 more of these in 2023 coming for EMSA. So looking forward to them, along with the rest of the other 2 bigger seasons coming on board. So other than that, I would say congratulations to Team Watson as one of their 2 drivers won the title that had the possibility. I think that's the best outcome that they were hoping for. And just looking forward to 2023.
As either way we go, it is a TWR car who has won the championship. So we apologize for still not kind of knowing. Like I said, we're going to have a chat once we finish up and see exactly what had happened. So just keep an eye on the ASN socials. We'll have something posted there. From all of us at the Automotive Sports Network, Victor Valley, Philip Kraus, Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer, my name is Josh Mertz. We thank you so much for joining us all year long, really, for the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge and for the EMSA service experts, whether it was eRoval or eTriple Crown. Definitely appreciate on ASN Live or on ASN On Demand. Like I had mentioned, for 2023, we will be transitioning back to just YouTube, ASN Live and ASN On Demand, just an easier way for everyone to keep an eye on everything related to ASN. Be sure to check out asnTVUSA.com at the beginning of the year. We're going to have that up as well with our calendar. And just a couple programming notes, like I mentioned, for EMSA, the eWorld Tour, first round of that championship will be in Montreal on the 22nd of January. That's going to be super exciting with the LMDH along with the Mission R. And the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge begins yet another season for the 11th calendar year. Begin at Brands Hatch on February 27th. Like I said, from all of us at ASN, Victor Valley, Philip Kraus, Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer. My name is Josh Mertz. We hope you enjoyed today's coverage and the coverage all season and all year long on the Automotive Sports Network. It's going to get even better from here. We'll see you in 2023. But until then, so long, everyone.